about Agile is, okay, it is not a incrementally better model. It's a radically different one. So we need a totally different mindset to go for Agile. Okay, now yeah, so we have this conventional models, project management, the PMBOK and the Prince2. PMBOK stands for Project Management Body of Knowledge, and then we have the Prince2, which is the projects in controlled environment. PMBOK, the origin is US, Prince2, the origin is UK. Both revolves around plan, do, check, and act. So here, what we are trying to achieve is whatever we want to do, we want to plan first, then do things as per the plan, and once in a while you check, and if there is a variance, we take action. So that is the backbone of these models. The cultural aspects of predictive styles, any variance is considered as evil, schedule variance is bad, effort variance is bad. So most of the metrics are defined in those directions. So any variance from the ideal is bad. Focus is blindly on time, cost, scope, and very often the project teams can be very insensitive to the business case of the project. So your only intent could be to deliver it on time, even if there are variance from variance from conformance to requirements and all. Then we have a set of agile models coming in. If you see here, see these are all models. Everything comes under agile family of products, and Scrum is one of the agile methods. Then we have extreme programming, Crystal, then RUP is there, test driven development is there, test first development is there, feature driven development is there. So it's a big family. So today our discussion will be around this Scrum, which is one of the agile methodologies. Okay, so see, if you have at any point in time you have any questions, please key in the chat window, then I'll answer that. The key difference between this one and the earlier styles was the PMBOK and the Prince2, it was always revolving around plan, do, check, and act, whereas the agile models, it always go around plan, do, study, and act. That means don't spend too much time in planning, just do enough planning and then try to do something. And we may be successful, we may fail as well. And if you are successful, irrespective of whether it is successful or failure, you learn from it, and based on that learning, you act. So success and failure doesn't matter much. The primary thought pattern is, if I fail early, that is better. It's more like a couple of months back, I had to travel to another country, and the flight was delayed by 4 hours because they detected a brake malfunction before takeoff. I was thankful to them because they could detect it before the flight took off. So even an early failure can be treated as a success because after that we have enough time to recover from the problem. It's better than failing in the last minute, like most of the waterfalls. So the waterfall model, the issue is till the project is 80% is done, everything is perfect, and the remaining 20% we fail sometimes miserably. Whereas here, maybe we may have earlier failures, but in the longer run, the project will become more and more predictable. The technology risk management will be better. Customer functional risk management also will be better because the customer will get to see the product very early in the life cycle. So that is an advantage of any of the agile models. But then the shift from PDCA to PDSA, that calls for, there's a radical change. If you ask somebody to put his hands together when the sprint fails, saying that, okay, oh, we failed very early, so let's celebrate, kind of thing. So in the conventional project management world, that can be seen as very abnormal, whereas in the agile world, that is pretty okay, because the onus is on fast failures. So let's move on to the next slide. When to apply agile, because agile is now, everybody is talking about agile. Is every project the right which project is the right candidate for agile? That is a difficult question. So this matrix may give you some sort of a pointer to qualify your project as a candidate for agile. Now, all the projects we have can be classified based on two parameters. One is the type of requirements we are getting. That means the requirements could be erratic, fluctuating, routine, or stable. And the other parameter is the technology we are using. It may be a technology which is very well known to the team. It may be something which is familiar to the team, or it could be something of leading edge or of bleeding edge. So if you are working on projects where requirements are erratic or fluctuating kind of thing, and the technology is also very new to the team, then that band of projects may qualify for agile. So in this diagram, this yellow band of the project is a good candidate for agile, whereas the gray band, even waterfall will work there because requirements are very, very clear, and the technology is also very, very familiar to the team. So in that case, even waterfall also will work perfectly. So it is not a question of which one is better, whether waterfall is better or agile is better. For some projects, agile work better. For some projects, waterfall is fine. So if your domain knowledge is perfect, the requirements are highly stable, then okay, even waterfall will work for you perfectly. So given a team, just by changing the methodology, your productivity may not be better. So somebody say, take a team A, if they follow waterfall, things will be very bad, and if they follow Scrum or Agile, things will be better. That is not, because the capability of the team is all same. So if they are very good in software engineering practices, and maybe they'll do better. The one advantage of Agile is, okay, it is very good for technology risk management as well as functional risk management, because very early in the life cycle, these issues will come out, and we'll be able to fix it in the subsequent cycles. And another advantage is the customer need not wait till the end of the project to have a glimpse of the final product. So here we are talking about fast releases, so the customer get to see the product very early. So that way the functional misunderstandings also can be thrashed out very early in the life cycle. So that way risk management is better for Agile if you are following Agile. Whereas in waterfall, till 80% is done, everything may seem to be fine, and after that the problems will start hitting you one after the other. So if somebody asks me which model is better, my reply would be a good tea is good, and a good coffee is also good, but then it should be made well. So that way any model, if it is implemented well, then that's fine. But then some projects, okay, maybe by applying Agile, you may get better results. That's it. Let's move on. If you have questions, okay, please key in. Then at least I'll know that you are all listening. So that's fine. Now this is the Agile framework, which is very, very simple. So we have a product backlog. This is nothing but the wish list of features that may get into the product, and this is maintained by the product owner. and this is allowed to grow indefinitely. So as and when the product owner gets a feature idea, he or she makes an entry into the product backlog. And every 30-day cycle, you have a sprint planning meeting. So somewhere here it happens. So here we have the product backlog. So a subset of the features is taken up for production. That means the product owner proposes a set of features that need to be done during the next 30-day cycle. Here we call it as a sprint. And here there is a one-day planning meeting for a 30-day sprint, and the team, the product owner, and the Scrum Master, who is more like the project manager in the conventional models, they sit down together and then they come into a consensus on how much they can implement in the next 30-day cycle or the next sprint. Then the team starts work on it. One beauty is here, see, there is no work allocation. What is promoted is work volunteering. So the work need to be done is displayed in the form of yellow post-its, and they get into doing the volunteering the work. And during the planning meeting itself, the acceptance tests for the features to be developed, those are decided, and the demo date and time is also fixed. So we said on this particular date the demo will happen. So that is done. Acceptance tests that need to be run during the demo, that is also finalized. And the team builds it. And every day morning there is a daily stand-up meeting where it's known as a daily scrum, where the team comes for a 15-minute stand-up meeting. So here we are talking about a 9 plus or minus 2 kind of a team. So that means 15 minutes means each person will get approximately 2 minutes each to tell 3 things, like what did I do yesterday, what am I doing today, and what are the issues I'm facing. So yes, and if the project manager's intervention is required, that is sought, the Scrum Master will provide support. But then that is not done during this meeting. In this meeting, only 3 things: what did I do yesterday, what am I doing today, and what are the issues I'm facing. So that happens, and on the agreed upon date, the product is demonstrated against the agreed upon test cases. Anybody in the organization can come and sit for this meeting, but yeah. And here the only check is the product working as per the agreed upon test cases. If all the features are running as per the agreed upon test cases, then the sprint is a success. And if any one of the test cases fails, the sprint is a failure. So here the biggest mindset change that is required from the conventional model to this model is the conventional model, like PMBOK and Prince, always the thought process is, okay, now we have an amount of work to be done, then we estimate and then identify the duration for it. Whereas here this 30-day is fixed, and always the thinking is like, in this 30 days time how much we can do. So there's a radical 180-degree difference. Like the conventional model, you estimate the work and then decide on how much duration it will take. Here it is like the duration is fixed, and then you decide on how much work you can do. Okay, so here I'm getting a question from John. How do you decide on the 30-day cycle? That's a good one. One factor is the product complexity. If it's a large product, if you have shorter sprints, then you will not have anything concrete to demonstrate. That is one criteria. The other criteria is the trust level between the product owner and the team, because very often if the product owner might not have even seen the team, then the trust level could be very low. Then sometimes the product owner will insist on seeing the product much faster than 30 days. You cannot even wait for 30 days. So in that case, okay, you bring it down. So I worked in teams where the sprint duration is, we started with 5 days. That was working okay, but then it was unnecessary ceremonies all the time. Then okay, we moved it to a fortnightly sprint. That was working fine because the total duration of the project itself was only 3 months. So we had fortnightly. So you can decide whether it is 5 days, or 5 days could be an overkill, maybe a fortnightly thing or a monthly thing, that you can decide based on these two things. One is the trust level, the other one is the size of the product. If the Alex Chaco has a question, if the project is not completed in the 30-day cycle, does the whole project or activity go into a backlog? Yes, it has to go. If it is a half-cooked thing, it will go back to the backlog, and then it will get replanned into the next sprint with a fresh estimation, because you might have already done some part of the work. So in the subsequent sprint, it is taken up. And estimation will be only for the remaining part of the work. Okay, so here we are talking at a feature level, because in a sprint we are taking 5 features, and each feature might be made up of multiple activities. So even if one activity is not completed, the feature is not done. So technically the sprint will fail. Whereas then you estimate only for that activity and take the feature into the subsequent sprint, and then finish it off. That is one option. Another option is take it just outside the sprint, because if you have only 10 minutes job to finish off a sprint, one task is pending. Again, including it in the subsequent sprint could be a time waster. So maybe take that extra couple of hours and then maybe finish it off, which is outside the sprint. So that work happens in a no man's land. So technically the first sprint fails, maybe because, and you fix something which is outside the sprint, that's okay, that's over then. Then the remaining work you schedule into the subsequent sprints. Here, John, we need not worry too much about success and failure, because when a sprint fails, we know that they have a very good implementation of Scrum. Otherwise, what may happen is, okay, a 30-day sprint, they will extend it to 35 days, then do the window dressing, and then show that, okay, the sprint is successful. So maybe a very honest team can fail a couple of times, it's okay. That shows that, okay, they're following Scrum. Otherwise, sometimes, okay, it is a violation of Scrum. Because you plan for 30 days and then you extended it to 35 days and then completed everything. Well, that's problem actually. Okay, so that's fine. So let's move on. So how do you the question is, how do you define scope and elicit requirements in this method? See, requirements are allowed to grow indefinitely. So the customer has, when he sees the product, he may have a lot of additional things to do. So maybe I'll be very happy to work with a customer who has a stream of unending requirements, because that's a great opportunity. So we need not worry. So here, maybe how do you define scope? My view is, okay, the scope need not be defined if the contract type is time and material. Only when the contract type is a fixed price contract, then you get into trouble. Or there also you can put in some clauses like, okay, we are quoting for features 1 to Z or A to Z, and after that anything additional, okay, we'll open up one more sprint. So that's okay, and there will be additional payment terms for it. For a fixed bid also, we know the features. So we know the features, and we have to estimate it, and then there's an agreement with the client that, okay, we'll be doing things only as per the agreed upon features. Anything that gets added to it, that is an extension of scope. So in a waterfall model, what we do, we raise a change request. So that can be applied here as well. So we have a lock-in with the customer on an agreed set of requirements. Anything extra comes in, there will be a change management procedure. Customers must be, irrespective of whether it's fixed price or whatever it is, even a fixed price, if a change request is raised, the price can change because there is a scope change. Yeah. Then this question is, okay, now we are on the last sprint and we have completed everything. In the 10 sprint project, we are on the 10th sprint, and on the 10th day itself we completed everything. Oh, celebrate. Celebrate, you can, yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay. Negotiate. So if you are very clear that, okay, now you are in a sprint, customer wants to include a feature. If you are following Scrum, the team has to agree to it in the first place. Without the team's agreement, you cannot change things. Irrespective of the model you are following, for a fixed price contract, if a new feature comes in which was not part of the original scheme of things, then you will have to renegotiate on the price. Okay, so on time, cost, and scope, my answer would be another question for your project. What is the feature? Which one is non-negotiable? Time, is it time or cost or scope? Which is negotiable and which is non-negotiable? I'm asking this to John. So if time is not negotiable, maybe I can take that feature at the cost of another feature. So one is a barter system where you are in the middle of a sprint, customer wants to change one feature which is not yet done with another feature, then okay, you can go for a negotiation, that's okay. So on the scope you can do this actually. Customer has asked for 10 features and is bringing the 11th feature, then you can always, if cost is fixed and time is also fixed, you can try to negotiate with him on removing some other feature so that you can include this feature kind of. So you'll have to manage with the scope. Okay, so coming back to our framework. So I'm sure that, okay, see, you will not be thorough with this framework with a 1 hour presentation, but at least you will know the structure and when to apply Scrum and what are all the building blocks of Scrum. So that is the intent of today's course. This is okay. And basically now this is about the roles and responsibilities. So you have the Scrum Master and you have the team members playing the game. So basically there are only 3 roles in a Scrum team. That is the product owner. We have the product owner and the Scrum Master, who is more like a project manager, and the team and the development team. So basically only three designations, that is a product owner, Scrum Master, and the team members. Scrum, see, nobody is going to do an audit of your Scrum implementation and give you NCs and all. So Scrum is revolving around values first of all, the team members it must be a committed team. Only then you can really implement Scrum. On a frustrated team, it's very difficult. If most of the team members are burned out, frustrated souls, then it is very difficult to implement Scrums. We need a committed team. The team should be highly focused because they cannot be disturbed in between. They have to literally focus on the project and then finish it off. Then we have this openness. Scrum keeps everything about a project visible to everybody, and then it is based on respect. That means individuals are shaped by their background and their experiences. It is important to respect different people who comprise a team. And the courage. Sometimes, okay, now in Scrum implementation, this is very evident. How much can we do in next 30 days time? So it takes a lot of guts to commit. Okay, this much we will try. Success and failure doesn't matter theoretically, but practically, as per the Indian mindset, it's very difficult to digest a failure. So the team can be under tremendous pressure. So for the next 30 days, committing something, that's something we will have to really learn. Success and failure doesn't matter, but still when it's a can we do it, how much can we do in next 30 days time, okay, we should be able to make a call. And that is not after doing a full-fledged Delphi kind of a estimator now. Manifesto for Agile Software Development. I'm not explaining this. If you really want to go through the Agile Manifesto, there is a site called Agile Manifesto, agilemanifesto.org. So this is the site. So you can go through it leisurely and then go through all these things, because the fundamental thing is explaining Scrum. Already I explained to you, it will take only 30 minutes, but then really implementing it, it needs a value change, and a value-based change, always it has to come from inside out. Others will not be able to impose it onto you. So that is the biggest challenge when we go for implementing Scrum. Otherwise, it is very, very easy. Understanding Scrum is only 30 minutes. Maybe really mastering it and implementing it well, it will take years together sometimes. And even after that, many places, okay, it is again slipping down back to waterfall after a while. So those issues are there. This is fine. So what I do is straight away I'll show you the output of the planning meeting. So we discussed about so this is a standard set of slides I have for a 2-day workshop. So I'll not be able to take you through. Now, these roles and responsibilities so are very important. So here we are talking about the Scrum Master's roles and responsibilities. As a Scrum Master, you are responsible for the success of Scrum. You are responsible for enacting Scrum values, practices, and rules. Represents the management and the team to each other, and conducts all daily Scrums. Means we are talking about the daily stand-ups, and removes all impediments. That means whenever the team asks for help, you are supposed to provide it. And here the challenge is, okay, it has to be provided immediately, otherwise the sprint will fail. In waterfall, you can always say that, okay, I'm working on it, and you can take your own sweet time as a manager. Here the team is on a sprint 30-day cycle, and if they ask for help, it has to be provided immediately. So that is an added challenge. Product owner controls the product backlog, prioritizes the features to be developed. That is about the product owner. In the Scrum teams, we are talking about team size of 7 plus or minus 2. The team commits to achieving a sprint goal. The team is accorded full authority, and the team could be cross-functional, and that is another challenge. So we already said that the 3 major roles in Scrum is Scrum Master, Product Owner, Scrum Master, and the development team. Now what will happen to our tester, architect, coder, SCPG kind of roles? They all form part of the development team. So the development, here the logic is like this. The development team consists of a set of people who has some core competencies. So some people are good in testing, some others are good in coding, but then nobody is asking them to do testing or coding. Whoever wants to do coding, they will do coding. Whoever wants to volunteer for testing, they can do, or you can work half the time in whatever you want to do, you can do. So you don't need anybody's permission. So everything revolves around work volunteering. It is not about work allocation. This is fine. So let me show you the output of the sprint planning meeting. So this is the typical output of the sprint planning meeting, where we agreed on doing the deposits. Deposit is a feature, and 1 minute. So we agreed on doing deposit as a feature, and we decompose those into tasks. That also happens during the planning meeting. And migration tool is another feature, and again we decompose those into tasks. Back office login is another feature to be done. We decompose those into tasks. Here again, back office user login is a feature. We decompose those into tasks. And here we have a burndown chart. When we say burndown chart, if the sprint is 30 days duration, the duration will come in here. And every segment is a day. And if you know the total effort required to complete all these activities, let's say that is coming to 300 person days, that cumulative effort to complete those activities will come in here. And then that becomes this is the ideal curve. That means as and when the project progresses, on the last 30th day, the effort required to complete the balance activities must become 0. So that is ideal curve. So what we do in real life is, at the end of every day, we take stock of how much more effort is required to complete the balance activities. So based on that, we get some data points. So the actuals are updated based on everyday stock of how much balance required, kind of thing. So your actual curve may go like this. We call it as a burndown chart. So this is the output of the planning meeting. You have a whiteboard, and then you put the features to be developed and decomposed activities that need to be performed to build those features. So that is also done. That is also there and is estimated. And then people are allowed to volunteer. So here is the stuff that nobody is working as of today, and checked out means the stuff that somebody is working on today, and stuff that nobody will work on anymore comes under done. And here under the next, we are putting some more features which can be developed in case all these things are done ahead of schedule. So that happens. So this is the output of the planning meeting, and then you allow people to volunteer. So when people volunteer, so now if I'm doing this, my name is written on this. So AB is written on this. So then I pluck it from here and put it under here. Checked out. Once this is done, I move it from here to here. So maybe after attending this this webinar, maybe if you can go back to your workplace, and if you can make a plan, take a whiteboard and then make a plan for next 1 week's activity for the team, and then start playing with these post-its. That itself, slowly will lead you to Scrum. So this is something which you can do immediately after this. Go back and then create a board like this, 3 columns: to be done, being done, and done. And whatever you want to do, you create yellow post-its out of it and ask your team members to volunteer. As and when they volunteer, they'll move it from this column to the checked out column, and once it is done, they move it from checked out column to done. So maybe that can be a good expectation out of you, because I don't expect you to go back and implement Scrum if you are very new to Scrum. This might have given you a very high level overview of Scrum, because if you have to really go in depth into it, this will take at least 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours, because we did not discuss about estimating. We did not discuss about user stories and the techniques to develop the user stories. We did not talk about the velocity calculations. We did not discuss about the lessons learned exercise. So if somebody has to explain all these things in a very understandable format, that will take at least 8 to 10 hours, and then it takes for some practice from your side as well at your workplace. Everything cannot be theoretically taught. So if you are game for it, how many of you are very new to Scrum? You are just understanding it for the first time. How many of you are very new to the Scrum? Just starting. Okay. So can I presume that all others are following Scrum? So Bhikkhu is new to Scrum, and can I presume that all others are doing some form of Scrum? Okay. Murali is also very new to Scrum. So when I get somebody who's very fresh, then I'm very enthusiastic to teach them the right Scrum, because a lot of people may say that they are following Scrum, but then all you need to ask them is what is the velocity of the last sprint. If they can give a number, if all the team members can give the same number, then okay, they have a very good implementation, a reasonably good implementation. Otherwise, it's all just talking. Okay, yeah, John Thomas, you're following Scrum. Okay. See, user story. See now, as per the framework of Scrum, user stories are not there. But then very often what happens is, in a planning meeting, when the product owner goes back to gets into the planning meeting, he or she will be bombarded with queries by the team members. Because they have to estimate it. They're committing on something, so they'll have a number of questions to ask. The problem is, okay, if the product owner goes in there without doing any sort of preparation, very often you'll fail to answer all these questions, and your planning meeting itself will fail. So from the implementations, what we found as useful is, if now let's say here we are talking about something like deposit, and if somebody wants to estimate it, it's very tough. All you have is okay, one liner called deposit. That's what's available in the product backlog. Now you have to expand this into a user story, which has 3 sections. One is the narration part of it. We're talking about narration. So the narration is, okay, you will expand this into a paragraph. Or when somebody pays in X dollars, okay, it should be deposited. The other side, it should be credited by this many dollars. Then multi-currency is possible, cash card, credit card, all those payments are possible. So you expand that into a paragraph, and then then you write a set of test cases for that also. This is how I'm going to test it. Put a deposit of euro 10 should get added to one account and 10 should get subtracted to another account. The rounding off. So you write down all the acceptance tests for that feature as well. Then this is good enough to have a dialogue going on between you and the person who's asking the questions. And when a person asks those questions, for further clarification, all those things are captured as conversations. So because the person who is asking the question may not be the guy who is going to really volunteer for that piece of work. So this is just a 1 or 2 sheet A4 size sheet, free text kind of thing, where the first thing is the product backlog entry carried forward. then you get into the narration part of it, then the conversations, then the acceptance tests. So that will make it very clear, because even the product owner will be forced to do a kind of a homework before getting into the planning meeting. Otherwise, the planning meeting itself will fail, because there is no clarity on the features to be developed by the product owner. Did you get a fair idea, Bhikkhu, on what is idea? So really speaking, this is an SRS which is built incrementally. We are not going to detail everything into there's 100 features to be developed. We are not doing it in a one big book of 100 features. Next sprint and subsequent sprint, 10 features if I'm scheduling. First I'll develop the user stories for that first 10 features, and then the user stories will get expanded further. Right. So without a user story, it is very difficult to have an effective planning meeting, because sometimes the kind of questions the participants ask the product owner is mind-boggling. So if that person has not done his homework properly, sometimes the sprint planning meeting will fail miserably. Okay, so that's right. So some companies, they are using use case diagrams. Some other companies, they are using UML diagrams. So whatever you are good at, you can use. That is not an issue. So because the objective is only this, bring in more clarity into the requirements. And that must happen prior to allocating something into a sprint. So whether it's UML or use case or user story or feature story, everything is fine. What I've seen is like mostly the most common tool used here is the user story. Some companies definitely they use use case diagrams. Okay, so so start somewhere, and I think we will have further sessions. If this session is useful, I think we'll have further sessions on maybe one on user stories itself, how to really develop good user stories. And then see, we need to, if you're looking at things from a practitioner's perspective, we may have to get into things like how to conduct a daily stand-up, how to conduct a product demo after the sprint. Then after even the sprint demo, there is something called a retrospective meeting. Generally, especially from teams from Asia, this retrospective meeting is a waste of time, because nobody discusses about the serious issues. People talk about very nice to discuss things. So if you really want to practice Scrum, you need real practice. The textual knowledge alone will not help you. So this will give you an idea of Scrum, then you go back and implement. So what I'll do is, okay, now you might have got an idea about what is Scrum, and for those people who are very new to Scrum, one resource could be scrum.org. You go to scrum.org, and if you can download, there is something called Scrum Guide, which is a free download, 16-page. So that talks about the real Scrum. That is just 16 or 18-page document documented by Ken Squaber and Jeff Sutherland. So this is the most authentic document that is available. So please download it, go through it, and try to do something somewhere. If nothing is there, so even my personal I work from home and there is nobody to supervise my work. So that itself is a big problem. So I do a weekly plan using these yellow post-its. And that itself drives me to finish it off towards the end of the week. So in a small team, you can always put a whiteboard and then yellow post-its. Then ask people to write their name when they are doing something, and try move it. And maybe every day have a stand-up meeting which doesn't go more than 15 to 20 minutes. So you start somewhere. And then you don't even call it a Scrum. It is just a whiteboard and yellow post-its and 3 columns on that. To be done, being done, done. And when somebody is doing it, ask them to write down their name on it. And a daily stand-up, and everybody should say, what did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? What are the issues I'm facing? That itself will give you a lot of benefits. And then slowly perfect that into Scrum, because implementing Scrum, everybody in the team should be trained. And if you do something very ad hoc and then call it a Scrum, the faith in Scrum will go away. And once the faith is gone, then reinstating that faith is very, very difficult. So either do it perfectly or you don't do it. Don't even call it a Scrum if it is a partial implementation. Just put a whiteboard and then do it. That itself will give you a lot of benefits. And we'll have a lot more to discuss from a practitioner's perspective as well. So if you don't have any questions, we'll wind up now. We're 10 minutes early. Then I'm game for questions. If you have any questions, please shoot those questions. We have time. And if anyone of you are not yet a member of PMRI Campus, please do that. pmi-campus.com. That's a great way to be in touch. Great, my pleasure. Yeah, I will schedule definitely. John Thomas, what are this? Any 3 things? What are the things a Scrum Master must do? First thing is, a Scrum Master should protect the team from all other disturbances in the organization. When the team is really working on a project, if that person is going to be pulled out or allocated a different work and all, the Scrum Master has every responsibility to protect its team from other organizational disturbances. That is one key factor. Then he or she has to ensure that all the Scrum process is implemented, in the sense every day fixed time the daily stand-up must happen. And the duration of the stand-up meeting should not be more than 15 to 20 minutes time. And the sprint duration, sprint should not exceed the sprint duration. And people should not sit late and work, because Scrum talks about 8-hour working days. So that may be the most difficult thing in the Indian subcontinent, because here people sit in the office for 12, 13, 14 hours, whereas Scrum talks about you must get out at 8 hours of real work and then go and relax, so that next day you can come fresh and then do things. This is very effective, because since I'm working from home, sometimes I don't know when I'm working and I don't know when I'm relaxing. So both happen side by side, and ultimately what happens is, okay, I don't relax at all. But then these days I'm bringing in some discipline, in the sense after a particular time, I'm not talking about Scrum, I'm just switching off from this field. So that really helps. So but then for the conventional wisdom of the Indian organization, if somebody is sitting late, then he can be seen as a hero kind of thing, whereas Scrum talks about asking people to go home after 8 hours of real work. So implementing Scrum is the Scrum Master's job. and it is not, and removing impediments by the team. Whenever the team asks for help, it has to be provided immediately, and sometimes it is a thankless job, because I've seen cases where the air conditioner is not working and the admin department of the organization is so inefficient, where they took easily 3 days time to rectify it, and the team is complaining to the Scrum Master, and the Scrum Master has to do that admin work of following up all these things. So sometimes it is a thankless job, because unlike waterfall, you are also under pressure, because of some software issue or hardware issue or infrastructure issue. If the sprint fails, when you do the retrospective, the team is going to point fingers at you, because then I had a problem, I highlighted it, and then you did not resolve it. So then you become a very inefficient Scrum Master. So Scrum Master is also on fire. You have to literally, you have to be a really energetic person who can literally run around and get things done. And sometimes you may have to escalate things, which may create some enemies for you, possibly. So all those issues are there. So Scrum Master's job is not very easy. Keep the team focused and maintain the velocity. Velocity doesn't tell me anything. Okay, so velocity can be low because the team is doing very good work. Okay, velocity can be very high because the work product is inferior, possible. So the velocity doesn't tell me much. Which team should you admire? A team who is doing very less story points, and when they say the product is done, it is done, or another team who always say our velocity is high, and before shipping the product they need a stabilization time of another 2 months. That is, yeah. So I think the first team is okay. They may seem to be going slow, but they're very steady. And when they say something is done, it is really done. So sometimes lower the velocity, that is better, maybe. So anyway, to answer your question, after some time, okay, you have to ensure that the team is not demoralized, demotivated, and not burnt out. That's why we are saying 8-hour working days. The team must go home. Let the sprint fail, no issue. Because we are committing to a work for 30 days at the rate of maybe 7 hours per day. And for that, why should I sit late for more than 8 hours? Then your velocity calculation, everything will go for a toss. Because 30-day sprint, actually I would have worked for 40 days, including overtime. Then I would have done more story points. So that velocity calculation doesn't tell me anything. So we are talking about 30 days, 8 hours, how much can we do? And putting that as a constant, sprint after sprint, if we can churn out more story points, then that is a meaningful velocity increase. Otherwise, sitting out, people can do a lot of window dressing to show a higher number of velocity. It's like timesheets, timesheet accounting. Okay, so when a team is always reporting high velocity, be suspicious, because sometimes a team which is reporting low velocity may be doing it perfectly. So higher the number, maybe stability or the velocity, okay, fine. If I'm doing 4 story point last sprint, this story point maybe 5, that's okay. A gradual that's okay, that's fine. So the key thing is the team should not be tired. Here there is every possibility for the team to get tired, because even if you say 200 times success and failure doesn't matter, the team will be really worried about failure every 30 days. is more like a waterfall project end. The team is under tremendous pressure, so the team need time to relax. So there the Scrum Master have a major role to play. Okay, so thank you very much for your time, and I hope you got some gyan out of this session. You can send me emails as well. So we'll be scheduling some additional things, and we are doing our PMP program as well as an online mode, the same mode, and we are doing our PMI-ACP as well on the same mode. So if this mode is working for you, maybe I request you to take a look at those things as well, because the PMP 35 contact hours online and PMI-ACP, that is Agile certification, 22 contact hours, so that also we do online. So if you are interested, or if any of your friends may be interested, take a look at those things as well. Details again at pmi-campus.com. So thank you very much. So I'll call it a day. Thanks.